Good day everyone. My name is Kadriam Andal from 1L BSED Math. Multiple Intelligence Theory by Howard Gardner. What is multiple intelligence? The theory of multiple intelligence is Howard Gardner's theory that proposed that people are not born with all of the intelligence they will ever have. It says that everyone is intelligent in at least 9 different ways and can develop each aspect of intelligence to an average level of competency. An intelligence, as defined by Gardner, is the ability to solve problems that are valuable in one or more cultural settings. What is this theory? Breakdown in different intelligence to categorize talent and skills. Gardner, the kinds of intelligence would allow different ways to teach rather than one. The type of multiple intelligence are logical mathematical intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, linguistic intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, visual spatial intelligence, musical intelligence, naturalist intelligence, and existential intelligence. Logical mathematical intelligence. Ability to explore patterns, categories, and relationships by manipulating objects or symbols, and to experiment in a controlled, orderly way. Ability to reason either deductively or inductively, and to recognize and manipulate abstract patterns and relationships. Example of logical mathematical intelligence is people with logical mathematical intelligence, such as Albert Einstein and Bill Gates, have an ability to develop equations and proofs, make calculations, and solve abstract problems. Intrapersonal intelligence, ability to gain access to understand one's inner feelings, dreams, and ideas. Personal knowledge turned inwards to the self. This form of intellect entails the ability to understand one's own emotions, goals, and intentions. For example, someone with interpersonal intelligence, such as Albert Einstein or Socrates, may also have the potential for improved verbal and numerical intelligence. Linguistic intelligence, ability to use language to excite, please, convince, stimulate, or convey information, involves not only ease in producing language, but also sensitivity to the nuance, order, and rhythm of words, ability to understand other people, to notice their goals, motivations, intentions, and to work effectively with them. Empathize with others, observe and understand others' mood, feelings, temperament. An example of linguistic intelligence is when a person speaks persuasively and fluently about an idea. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, ability to use fine and gross motor skills in sports, the performing arts or arts and crafts production. Bodily intelligence involves using the body to solve problems and to convey ideas and emotions. Are skilled at dancing and sports, enjoy creating things with his or her hands, have excellent physical coordination, remember by doing rather than hearing or seeing. Visual spatial intelligence, ability to perceive and mentally manipulate a form or object, and to perceive and create tension, balance, and composition in a visual or spatial display. Ability to create visual spatial representation of the world and to transfer those representations either mentally or concretely. Example, read and write for enjoyment, and good at putting puzzles together, interpret pictures, graphs, and charts. Enjoy drawing, painting, and the visual arts. Musical intelligence, Ability to enjoy, perform, or compose a musical piece includes sensitivity to pitch, rhyme of sound, as well as responsiveness to the emotional implications of these elements. People with musical intelligence are able to hear and recognize patterns easily. They are very sensitive to rhyme and sound. For example, they can easily distinguish the sound of a clarinet from the sound of a flute. People with musical intelligence think in terms of patterns. Naturalist intelligence. Ability to recognize flora and fauna, communion with the natural world and its phenomena, involves the full range of knowing what occurs in and through our encounters with the natural world, including our recognition, appreciation, and understanding of the natural environment. Examples: enjoy camping, gardening, hiking, and exploring the outdoors. Existential intelligence is concerned with the inner life of mind and spirit and its relationships to being in the world. It implies a capacity for a deep understanding of existential questions and insights into multiple levels of consciousness, and also implies awareness of spirit as the creative life force of evolution. Examples: an interest in questions about life, death, and beyond. And ability to look beyond the sense to explain phenomena, and a desire to be an outsider while at the same time showing a strong interest in society. Metacognition means thinking about thinking. The concept was created by John Playville in the 1970s. It includes all the processes involved in regulating how we think. Examples include planning out our work, tracking our progress, and assessing our own knowledge. Metacognitive strategies are useful to help us study smarter, not harder, and achieve self-control. Origin of the theory. The theory was proposed by John H. Playville, an American professor and child psychologist, in the 1970s. His theory was developed over a series of years. 1971, metamemory. Playville proposed the term metamemory to explain thinking about how we store and recall information. This term was later changed to metacognition. In 1979, 4 classes of metacognition. Playville proposed 4 classes or types, thinking about thinking, in order to explain the theory. Those 4 classes are outlined below. In 1976, metacognitive skills development in childhood. Playville discussed the importance of regulation of cognition and identifies 3 stages of meta-skill development in early childhood. Metamemory. In 1971, Playville proposed the term metamemory to explain a process of thinking about how we store and recall information in our minds. Playville, 1971. Playville, metamemory was intentional thinking about how we think can be stumbled upon. It needs to be strategic and based on specific techniques, such as self-questioning. Foresighted, we need to plan our thinking before conducting to us, but coming up with a plan to attack for our studies. Used to accomplish a goal, we should be using meta-strategies to be better at learning or working. Developing Metacognitive Skills in Childhood, 1976, by John Playville. Identified 3 stages of metacognition in early childhood. Stage 1, storage. Young children begin to intentionally and consciously they use basic strategies such as repetition and focus to ensure information is stored in their minds for future use. Stage 2, recall. Children learn strategies that help them store information in their working memory to recall it in the near future. They can recall information when they predict it will be useful, such as in a game of memory. Stage 3. Systematic strategies. Children use systematic strategies to recall information even when they did not predict that it would be required. They use active recall strategies such as self-questioning, thinking aloud, and mnemonic aids so that information can be called from longer-term memory. 4 types of metacognition. In 1979, Playbell proposed 4 different classes of metacognition. These categories act as a framework for thinking about the theory. Number 1, metacognitive knowledge. Metacognitive knowledge is a person's beliefs about how they can affect their own cognition. A person who believes they have the ability to control their own cognitive processes may be understood to have an internal locus of control. This person is likely more motivated to try to control their thought processes than someone who does not believe in their own ability to control their thoughts. The person who does not believe they can control their own cognitive processes has an external locus of control, meaning they believe control over their thinking is outside of their grasp. Playbell identified 3 factors that impact our metacognitive knowledge. Number 1, person variables. Some people believe they have an inherent ability to control their thoughts. Others may not. Number 2, task variables. When we are given scarce information about the task to complete, we will have a harder time to identifying cognitive strategies to use for the task. If we have better grasp on the task, we're more capable of using our meta-thought to come up with the appropriate cognitive strategies to complete the task. Number 3, strategy variables. Some people have developed more strategies to manage their cognition than others. The goal is to have as many great strategies for regulating your thinking as possible. For example, aim to be skilled at reflecting on and monitoring your thoughts regularly throughout the day. Also see below strategies or activities. Number 2, metacognitive experience. Metacognitive experiences are a person's own in-the-moment subjective applications of their meta-thinking to achieve tasks. Playbell suggested that this is stream of consciousness process. Example, providing personal feedback throughout a task to ensure you are using the right thought process to succeed. Number 3, tasks or goals. Your tasks or goals are the outcomes you want to achieve when thinking about your own thinking. Examples include comprehension, memorization, creating something, solving a problem, and writing a paragraph, improving your own knowledge. Number 4, strategies or activities. Metacognitive strategies are all the strategies you can use to achieve your cognitive goals. This can include Number 1, self-questioning. Internal talk to ability to ask yourself questions when going throughout your work to ensure you're doing it to the best of your ability. Number 2, meditation. Through pausing and clearing your mind, you can flush out all the problem and writing a paragraph, improving your own knowledge. Number 4, strategies or activities. Metacognitive strategies are all the strategies you can use to achieve your cognitive goals. This can include Number 1, self-questioning. Internal talk to ability to ask yourself questions when going throughout your work to ensure you're doing it to the best of your ability. Number 2, meditation. Through pausing and clearing your mind, you can flush out all the extra chatter and focus more on the task. Number 3, reflection. As you work, you reflect on what you're doing and think about ways to do it better. Sean called this reflection in action. Number 4, awareness of strengths and weaknesses. Being able to know what tasks you're good at and what tasks you struggle at. Number 5, awareness of thinking styles. Knowing which ways of learning best suit your skills. Learning styles are also known as learning modalities and includes verbal, oral, kinesthetic, and tactile. Number 6, use of mnemonic acid's ability to use rhymes, patterns, and associations to remember things. For example, when you meet someone new, you bank the knowledge in your mind by by cognitively linking that person to another person with the same name. Number 7, the study skills, using study aids such as flashcards, space presentation, and other study strategies to remember.
According to Freud, proper movements through each of the 5 psychosexual stages should not result in any consequences. However, conflicts in specific psychosexual stages can impact the life of an individual drastically. According to Piaget, intellectual development follows a pattern. Children master one thinking skill before they can master another. Children can't forced by parents or teachers to develop understanding any faster than their abilities mature. We can also note that Erikson's psychosocial theory of development includes the importance of childhood and outcomes that each stage has a psychosocial crisis to resolve, so that we take the virtue or skills specific to that stage to equip us for the remainder of our lives. Vygotski's theory was important in education, since these works provide tools for the development of individuals' learning. According to Pavlov's condition, reflexes were temporary or unstable. Pavlov himself said that it's not an ideal education theory. Classical conditioning is not a change in the behavior but a similar response to different stimulus. Behaviorism and cognitism are two psychological perspectives of how learning has been viewed throughout the 20th century. B.F. Skinner was a behavioral theorist, and Jean Piaget was cognitive theorist. They both have impacted the educational environment in both traditional and virtual classroom. Awareness of Gardner's multiple intelligence theory has provided teachers with the knowledge necessary to satisfy the education needs of many more students. With an understanding of Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, teachers, school administrator, and parents can better understand the different possibilities of each student learning preferences. The application of multiple intelligence in the classroom can stimulate a student's learning in new ways. An overwhelming central message from the research is that metacognition plays a very important role in enhancement student learning. This leads to the obvious conclusion that metacognition and the language of thinking and reflection needs to be embedded into the learning objectives, teaching package, and daily classroom teaching practices of teachers. Laws of learning. Thorndike's research showed the correct response was strengthened and the incorrect responses were weakened. He then identified 3 major laws of learning to explain the processes.
Law of effect. A satisfying effect following the response is strength, the connection between the stimulus and the behavior. Number 2, law of exercise. Repetition of the experience increases the probability of a correct response, but it will not enhance learning without a satisfying effect following the response. Number 3, law of readiness. The execution of an action in response to a strong impulse is satisfying, but the blocking of an action or forcing it is annoying.